Hello, I'm Dan, and welcome to my review of the Cloak and Dagger Season 1 finale, Colony Collapse. This was a really interesting finale. I'm gonna try to go into some depth about what I thought about the episode and sort of my general feelings of the first season overall and my excitement for Season 2. I thought there were some good things about this finale, but I'm gonna say off the bat, wasn't my favorite episode. I actually think episode 8 would have in a lot of ways been a better finale than this. I felt like that was sort of the culmination of all the grounded character stuff that we've been going throughout the show, and that this one was more of the bombastic superhero finale, which is fine and had some fun things about it, but wasn't what I loved about this show. And I think episode 8 is really what I loved about the show, which is these guys are going up against a corporation and a cop, and it's about going up against these agencies. In the end, they have these fantastical powers, and even with those, it's a struggle to defeat these kind of systems and systemic systems. And it was so about the culmination of everything the season had built up to as far as dealing with their own loss. Whereas this episode I felt was, it was sort of them becoming heroes, but it was much more traditional and there wasn't that much time for character depth. That said, not saying there wasn't any of that. I think that Tyrone's speech that he gave trying to rally the cop to do the right thing was a great speech. I think that he was both sort of inspiring the cop, but also inspiring him. I think Aubrey Joseph did a great job there. Additionally, obviously, when he lost the cloak, Olivia Holtz-Tandy did a great job of sort of rallying him again and getting him to be like, you don't need the cloak, it's not just that, you have strength of your own. I thought, those were good moments, but I really felt like I was much more connected to the core of the story back in episode 8. But I'm going to stop talking about episode 8. My point is that I thought there were some cool action scenes here, but the problem is that this show is not the action show. They have solid effects for what they're capable of doing on their budget, and I'm happy overall with the effects, and I think they were solid here. But this isn't the Luke Cage, the Daredevil. This isn't, a big budget film. So the choreography is tame. The fights are okay. I think the coolest stuff was probably with Tyrone sucking Connors into him. That was some cool stuff for sure. But generally speaking, I don't feel like action is where the show shines. I'm not saying it's terrible or anything. Other than that, I have to say, personally speaking, I'm not a huge fan of the whole idea of the divine pairing. I understand that there's some cultural reasons why they're doing this whole thing with the voodoo and with the history of the city and all that stuff, and I think that that's definitely cool, and I'm not going to say that I necessarily understand all of that or that it's for me exactly. So I'm not going to say that I think it's bad, but personally, I don't connect with it because I didn't want them to be this savior type of people. I don't want them to be the chosen ones. I don't want there to be fate. I want it to be that they were out of circumstance, happened to be thrown together and they happened to get these powers, and I want it to be a more grounded story than they saved the city. I think that's what really made this show special and stand out for so long, which is it was about these core grounded stories. And obviously, I mean grounded in the sense in comparison to other superhero stories. It wasn't about saving the city. And so that stuff doesn't really appeal to me that much. That said, I do think there is some cool stuff about the divine pairing, such as the fact that ultimately, at least the way I'm interpreting it, I feel like maybe the divine pairing was actually Connors and O'Reilly, because O'Reilly actually died. I don't know if that's just me grasping at straws, if anybody disagrees with that, but it seems like she died, was reborn. I think her whole rebirth and becoming Mayhem in next season, I think that's awesome and exciting. This is one of those few times where I don't know the source material that well. I know a lot of comics from growing up, but I don't know that much about Cloak and Dagger, and I didn't know that O'Reilly was going to become Mayhem, and I did a little bit of reading up on that, and that's cool, and it's exciting, and I look forward to seeing that actor do different stuff, and I think the effects on her and the sort of horror of it were really cool at the end, so that's really exciting. That part of the comic booky stuff I really do enjoy. And speaking of the comic booky stuff, There were some cool references here. We have references to Stark, as in Tony Stark Iron Man, Rand, as in Rand Enterprises Iron Fist, all the irons. I love how they connect both to the Netflix shows, but also are, talking about Stark, which is a broader thing. Like, we knew that it was part of the MCU, but each time they do that, it just gives a little bit more fun feeling to this is a wider connected universe. I also like little hints like saying that the Roxxon building was 616, which is the universe that Marvel takes place in. If you don't understand that, I'm not going to get into it now. But yeah, just little things like that I think are really nice. I did think there were some strange things as far as the powers go, such as Tyrone being like, oh, I can't use my powers in front of all these people. I thought that was a strange thing. It's the kind of thing that, like, maybe I would get in most superhero stories, which is like, I don't want to reveal my secret identity or be hunted or something. But when you're literally already being hunted and the alternative is, like, being brought in by cops, that felt surprising. I mean, I guess you can be like, well, I'll wait until I have my chance to do it later, but then he lost his cloak, which he believed was his only way to use it. So it just felt like a strange choice. That said, that did remind me, I love the scene of everybody tearing at the cloak and tearing it apart. I thought that was really cool and freaky and had great visuals there. And I do love how they bring in Mardi Gras and show the town in a greater sense. So, I'm a little torn on certain aspects. It's really just that I don't feel like I need this greater divine pairing thing. But again, maybe they played with their expectations. Maybe they went somewhere different with it. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that ultimately it was supposed to be that Cloak and Dagger were the divine pairing and they broke the pattern, if you will, by having one of them not die? Or is it that O'Reilly is part of the divine pairing and she died? That does seem like potentially something they will talk about in interviews, but I am recording this directly after the episode aired, so I don't know yet. But it's interesting. I do like how their powers continue to evolve. We have this thing of him sucking in Connor's, which I have no idea what that's about. Does he suck him into a different dimension? Is Connor going to somehow reappear at some point next season with powers or something? There certainly is this like dark dimension aspect here, but yeah, I mean, it's just interesting how it evolves, and now they can combine their powers together, and that's gonna, grow the relationship going forward, which I'm excited about. I love that we end with Tyrone sort of moving in with Tandy. They're so cute. I love them. And, I just think whenever they're on screen together, they have great chemistry. I wish we got even more of them together in this episode. Meanwhile, we have Evita, who I think is a fine character, but also just kind of seems like she's there to be there, and it just feels awkward when we have things like Tandy being like, you guys are a good couple, and I'm just like, come on, Tandy, you love him, you love him, don't like pretend that you don't, or hide that you don't, or not realize that you don't, just love each other, guys, just love. I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is this is their hero moment. This is when they step up and save the city and become heroic. And I think that's cool and everything. I think my problem is that that's something I've seen a million times. That moment, that end of the origin story when you come out of everything. It's the whole thing that they talked about last episode with the hero's journey. That's something we've seen a lot of. And I think that that's not necessarily what I wanted from this show, because we have a ton of shows about superheroes being superheroes. I wanted it to be much more personal, much more emotional, and yeah, we got the whole thing of, oh, one of them's gonna die, but that's in a much more like crazy cosmic way, not in the same way as the emotional hit of Tandy finding out that her dad beat her mom, or Tyrone getting defeated right as he thinks that he's gonna win, thinking that he can defeat the cops, and then at the end of the day you never can. Those are the moments that I love, and I think that they took a sidestep to have them fight zombies and all that jazz. And I know that maybe I'm, asking for a lot, because I want them to straddle that line between the fun comic booky stuff and the slower paced character stuff, and finding that balance is going to be different for everybody. I'm going to be a picky person, but I really love this season. I really love the show and these two characters and these two actors and what they're trying to do with the show, and to make it more grounded and more human and immersed in culture and in real life problems like the police stuff and the sexual assault stuff. And I just think that they did a really good job in so many ways this season. I can't wait for season 2, and the fact that they're centering it around O'Reilly's character, I really am excited to see more of that. And to see how they evolved Tandy and Tyrone's relationship going forward. What do you guys want out of season 2? What are you most excited about? What do you want more of? What do you think they can improve on for next year? I'd love to hear in the comments below or on Twitter at DoingOKVideo. So let me know. I've been doing these weekly videos on Cloak and Dagger and the 100 all season for both of these things. They're both ending right around now. I need my next thing. So let me know what you guys would like me to cover. I am probably going to cover Netflix's The Innocents, which if you haven't seen it yet, the trailer is awesome. I totally recommend checking it out. And I have some other ideas that I'm like playing with. So let me know. And thank you guys so much for watching me this season.